Coming up on this episode of Nintendo Cartridge Society, all eyes on Thursday. Walk into the waterfall so the Nintendo Cartridge Society walks into the waterfall with you. Welcome to Nintendo Cartridge Society. My name is Patrick Ellers, and I am joined, as I am always joined by my co-host, Mark Mitchell. We've got a good show for you today. We're going to be talking about the news from the week, including rumors that the Switch 2 will be revealed this week, and then on Thursday, we are ranking Nintendo revivals. But Mark, in the meantime, how's it going?
It's going
fine. It's good. Yes.
Yes.
Let's address it right now. We did not put out an episode last week on Thursday because we normally get together on Wednesday evenings. But on Wednesday night, we've been having fires in Los Angeles.
Yes, Patrick and I both live in Los Angeles.
That's right.
And it's it was a weird, kind of terrible week.
A weird, kind of terrible week. And I would say that Wednesday, like afternoon and evening specifically, a fire popped up in like Runyon Canyon, basically. The former apartment that I used to live in was like directly in the like mandatory evacuation zone. Look, all of this is scary, and there's like smoke and stuff that makes the air quality bad. But it was that fire in particular where I was like, oh no, like where I started to get just like bodily freaked out.
Yeah, last week just felt so out of control, and things still kind of feel out of control. But both of us are fine.
Yes. We're both safe.
Mm-hmm.
We are both, our places of residence for both of us are fine and not burned down. We never lost electricity or power. Wind's coming tonight, so maybe that won't be the case by the time people are listening to this. But I would say that we are generally pretty safe and secure right now.
Yes, and we're very fortunate because there are obviously thousands and thousands of people for whom that is not the case.
Right.
So, yeah, I guess we just wanted to acknowledge it, and we know that we're super fortunate, and we do, a silly Nintendo podcast, but that's the reason why we didn't have one last week.
That's the reason why we weren't silly enough for you last week. I mean, I tried being silly by myself. It didn't work.
Yeah, I'm no good sillying on my own.
No. It's can I tell you actually what so the fire that spooked Sarah and I spooked us to the point where we were like, let's just get out of town. I don't really know where exactly we're going. We went down to Anaheim, not because we have family or know anyone there, but because there's a hotel that we go to when we go to Disneyland, and we're like, we know that hotel. Let's go there. So we spent the night there. We went to dinner at the Bubba Gump Shrimp Company. And everyone in the restaurant was people from LA, like, getting out.
Where is there a Bubba Gump Shrimp Company in
it's like right there on, like, Catella, like, within walking distance of the...
Oh, in that, like, garden walk?
Yeah.
Is that where there's a Cheesecake Factory?
Yes, that's right.
Okay, yeah.
There's like a P.F. Chang's over there, yes.
Yeah,
so there's a Bubba Gump Shrimp Company over there. So we went there. And like everyone was like glued to their phones, and like it was like the mood in there was dour. And so at Bubba Gump, if people don't know Bubba Gump, by the way, it's a restaurant that like worships Forrest Gump,
right?
Which is
I do wonder what is the relationship, because it's not like it's movie focused, right? Like, don't they have images? I've never been to a Bubba Gump
right.
Shrimp Company. Do they have images from the movie?
Yeah,
like on like the menu and in the restaurant and stuff.
Yeah, and like
so it's licensed.
Oh, at 100%.
It's not like it's like the book version. No. This is the movie version.
That's right.
Of Bubba Gump.
That's right. And like all of the menu items are like named after things they say in the movie. There's a shrimp scampi, which is called "Of Course We Have Scampi." I don't know. I guess it's a line from the movie. Who knows? But the waiters and waitresses will like ask you trivia questions if like your game for like answering trivia questions about Forrest Gump.
That's so funny.
So the mood was so like dour in there that like one of the servers just like came into the room where like everyone was sitting. It was just like, all right, everybody, and like started asking the questions like aloud to the whole room, and got this room of like, shaken and like scared Angelinos shouting back answers to trivia
Oh,
questions.
so people have participated.
Well, yeah, like it's hard not to when
Yeah.
like that you're being confronted with that, and also when Sarah and I are in the corner shouting all the answers right away.
I've never. That sounds like a pretty good time.
Yes.
I've never really considered that the further away we get from the release of Forrest Gump, which at this point is like a 30-year-old movie, do people go into... Like, do you think it's like millennials and older only?
No, well,
or
no, there are kids in there, like for sure.
But like brought by their parents.
Yes.
Do you think, or I guess what I'm wondering is like, do you think the younger generation is just like, we're going to Bubba Gump and we have no cultural reference for what that means?
Right. And then when they start asking trivia questions about a movie, the kids are like, what are you talking about?
There's a movie?
What's a movie?
Based on the restaurant?
Is that like a long TikTok?
We know kids.
We
can speak to the generation.
We can. We sure can. So anyway, I don't know. We're fine.
Yes.
Yeah,
I did have one thing I wanted to ask about this experience. Was it weird to go to Anaheim and not go to Disneyland? No knock on Anaheim as a city, but if I'm in Anaheim, that's generally why I'm there.
I mean, I've also been to Anaheim to go to something at the Anaheim Convention Center.
Oh, sure, like a convention.
Like a convention.
I'm nodding sagely as I say this.
Right. Yes, conventions. So I've done it before and not gone to Disney, but we checked into the hotel and then we're like, okay, let's go get dinner. And I was like, we could go to Trader Sam's and Enchanted Tiki Bar. It's in downtown Disney. We didn't do it, but we sure could have.
This is not an ad, but what hotel do you guys stay at?
We stay at the Wyndham.
Oh, is it nice? You recommend?
It's
walking distance, or how do you?
Walking distance.
Oh, okay,
walking distance from Disneyland, and it is nice enough.
Oh, it's a hotel around Disneyland.
That's right. And it's it has very like clean quality to it.
Oh, that sounds nice. Preferable even.
Their restaurant is bad though. Do not eat at the restaurant if you stay at the Wyndham. No ads here, of course.
No.
We're spending too much time talking.
You're right. We should move on.
About my Anaheim adventure. Moving on to Patreon, patreon.com/Nintendo Cartridge Society. If you would like to support us, if you do so at the 8 or 16-bit levels, you get access to our once-a-month episodes of miniseries like NCS Arcade, which is going into its third season.
Yes, going into its third season, and we're taking the arcade literally, finally, because
people have been clamoring. When are you going to take the arcade part of this literally?
And the answer is
now.
January
Yes.
2025. At the end of the month, we're going to be talking about 3 Nintendo arcade classics: Donkey Kong, Donkey Kong Jr., and Donkey Kong 3. We are going to be playing the arcade version of all 3 of these and having a discussion about it. But, in the past, we've talked about things like The Legend of Zelda Minish Cap. I was going to say Battletoads, but no, we didn't. We didn't do that.
Echo the Dolphin for some reason.
Dolphin.
Earthbound. Yes.
Yeah, lots of fun. Plus, we have other mini-series on there for our 8-bit and 16-bit patrons that if you join now, you can go back and listen to, including NCS Detective Club and NCS Goes Broadway. Lots of good stuff happening on the Patreon, and you can join it for free.
Yes, and if you are joining for free, then you get access to our listener feedback episodes. For every episode of NCS Arcade that we do a listener feedback where we take emails from you, the listener, who following us at any level on Patreon, and we answer those questions and we talk about the games just like a little bit more. And again, as long as you are following us on Patreon, doesn't have to be at a level where you are giving us any money at all. You get access to those episodes. We will be recording one of those for real this time, Mario & Luigi Superstar Saga. We were gonna do it on Wednesday, and then didn't.
Yeah.
So we are going to this Wednesday. So look forward to that. If you still have thoughts about Mario & Luigi Superstar Saga, email us Nintendo Cartridge Society at gmail.com. And speaking of, you should be in our Discord. Email us there, and we will.
Especially because who knows what's happening this week?
Who knows what's happening this week?
If something does happen, as in an announcement for new Nintendo hardware, It's a fun place to be.
It's a fun place to be. People will be breaking down like every single frame of what we see in an announcement trailer, possibly on Tuesday. But Mark, in the meantime, let's talk about what we've been playing. I gotta say, as part of the It's Been a Strange Week, I have been bad at focusing on playing games.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you find this experience to be true for you as well, but when I am distressed in any way, I'm just kind of like, I I only, if I'm playing a game, I just want a thing that's like a muscle memory. I don't really want to explore anything new. I don't want anything particularly challenging. But on that note, because we are going to be talking about Shovel Knight, Shovel of Hope on Connor McCabe's podcast shortly, I continue to play Shovel Knight, but I beat the Shovel of Hope campaign last week. So I've been playing Spectre of Torment, the Spectre Knight campaign, which I have now also beaten.
Is that the one that you didn't like?
No,
like
that's
your
the
least
one
favorite?
that I love.
Oh,
Yes.
okay.
It's Plague of Shadows is my
Plague Knight. That's
yeah.
the one, yeah.
So the Plague Knight one I have never finished. I've never really gotten far in it because the controls are just like obtuse to me, and I can't really wrap my head around controlling Plague Knight. But I hadn't played Spectre of Torment since the Switch came out. It came out a little bit earlier on Switch than other platforms, and it was a Switch launch title. So like that's the first game I finished on Switch was Spectre Knight.
Oh, cool.
Spectre of Torment. And so revisiting it now, it almost felt like a new game to me, but was still very like familiar. And the his whole mechanic of like so his jump is a little bit shallower than Shovel Knight's, and his attack, instead of being like an either like just to the side thing or like a downward thrust, he dashes into and through enemies at either like an up or down diagonal. So there's a lot of complicated platforming where you have to like string together attacks of like enemies in the air so you can get from like one platform to another one on the other side of the screen. The point is, I was having a blast with this thing. I'd forgotten how good the story is in Spectre Knight's campaign. It like makes his whole involvement in the thing like really sad, even though when you're playing Shovel Knight, he's just like one of the bosses. I think it's just a totally wonderful little campaign from that game, and I don't know how you're doing on Shovel Knight right now.
Yeah, I'm so I think that I've opened the last part of the map. I think I'm
Yes.
ready to enter the tower. What I am trying to do right now is the like bonus level once you have like the flying sword.
Yes.
I'm trying to do that bonus level.
Yes.
And my brain is tripping up I'm like overthinking it because it requires you to, like sometimes push up and Y and sometimes push down, so that way
Right.
you're, like it's all about button combinations and timing. And I just keep overthinking it and like tripping myself up.
Yeah.
And I've gotten really far through it, but I feel committed to finishing that before I go on. But do you know what it reminds me of in some ways? Not that the games are that similar, but just like the joy that I'm getting from Shovel Knight this time. It reminds me of the joy that I got from Celeste, where
Yes.
like Celeste had some really difficult platforming challenges, but I still found myself like addicted to it. Like it's such a weird line to try to like
Right.
find like between
like hating it because it's too difficult and like loving it because it's challenging.
yeah, because there are definitely games that I've played where I'm like, I don't want to do this.
Right.
Like this is just not fun to me, and it shares a similar. And sometimes they're like it's too hard. Versus something like Celeste, or when I played Bloodborne or whatever, where it's like, no, this is the right amount of difficulty to like ensnare me in this game. And that's how I feel about Shovel Knight, because like I don't think that Shovel Knight generally, again, the first time I picked up Shovel Knight on the Nintendo 3DS years ago, like when it first came out, I stopped playing it because I didn't enjoy it. And I now Mark, like 10 years later, I'm not really sure what
that
my
was.
hang up was,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
I don't think the controls are confusing. I don't really think it's that difficult, especially because you have all those different magical items
Totally.
that you can, if you want to utilize them, like I'm throwing fireballs all the time. I'm making
Oh
myself
yeah,
invincible for,
make
a
yourself
few
invincible
seconds,
for a second.
like
Yeah.
all the time. And
God, it's so funny because a Spectre Knight has a totally different set
uh-huh.
of like charms like that, but they're similar. And just you talking about them now and like the flying sword and all that stuff, I was like, oh my God, I've forgotten everything about the. Like, I can't remember any of those relics. But yeah, you do have a lot of tools that you can use
Yes,
to
and
make the
like the
game easier.
bosses, yeah. So I'm really not finding the game itself that challenging, but I'm finding it very fun and rewarding. And then I think there are these like bonus levels that
Yeah.
occasionally have like a kind of reminds me of what they did in Super Mario Brothers or Super Mario Brothers Wonder, where
That's right.
it
It has the
had
full title and then the word Wonder. Super Mario Brothers Wonder.
where like most of the platforming is not that challenging to
Right.
get through a level, and then there are these bonus levels that really throw difficult things at you.
Yes.
I have to say, Shield Knight bothers me.
Shield Knight bothers you in what way?
I feel like the design is not as good
As
or as
everybody
like
else?
everybody else.
That's interesting.
And
I think I probably agree with that. That like the Shield Knight design is one of the weaker ones.
but overall, I'm really enjoying it. Like
Yeah.
I understand why you love it so much.
Well, this was going to be my my observation is that like maybe the difference between 10 years ago Mark and now Mark is that I've been dripping poison in your ear for the last
Could
10
be true.
years.
Could be true. It's like a Count of Monte Cristo type
That's right.
situation where
I get that reference. Why wouldn't I?
where like in
Doesn't
the
he come back for revenge?
yes, but he's been like slowly like administering poison to
like
himself
actual
in small
poison.
doses.
Oh,
and
yes,
so he's
okay.
built up a tolerance.
Got it.
And so yeah, maybe Shovel Knight is a terrible game, but I've just
Right.
built up a
You've built up
tolerance to it.
And maybe that's from playing games like Echo the Dolphin. For
Yeah, that could-
NCS Arcade.
That could be true as well.
So the one thing I just want to add about
Yeah.
you saying that there are then these more challenging levels, there are also literal challenge levels if you want to engage them after you beat a campaign. Each of the 4 nights has like a set of like challenge levels that are bite-sized and very difficult. I was playing a bunch of those this week as well for both Shovel Knight and Spectre Knight. They're a blast, but many of them are too hard for me.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I feel like I don't usually engage with post game
Sure.
like extra content in that
Right.
way. But
And especially stuff that's like just there to be more challenging.
right.
Yeah.
The other thing I want to say about Shovel Knight is even though the game is very linear,
Mhm.
that it does such a good job of surprising you and introducing new things to you that you're like, oh, that's like fun and different. Like when you go to the Hall of Champions
Yes.
and like there are these ghosts and you have to clear out the ghosts. And the way you do that is different from anything else in the game.
Yep.
Or like the king of the big
Truple King.
Truple King.
Yep.
Yeah, like that's like fun. It's like I feel like the game is very inventive with
Yes.
even though at its core, like the mechanics are very simple. But yeah, I'm just having a blast. I'm really enjoying Shovel Knight.
That fills my heart, Mark. And then what I
Yes,
guess
I
in terms
wanted
of that's what
to
we've been
talk
playing,
about.
but-
Yeah, it's really all I've been playing. But I did, as part of Games Done Quick this past week, there was a Mario Kart 8 Deluxe speed run where they did all of the booster course pass
Okay.
courses. But in that, I learned something that I didn't know, and I wanted to share it with you in case because I don't know if you didn't
Do I
knew
know
this
this?
as well. Okay, so
Just want on the record, Mark is surprising me with this. I have not been briefed ahead of time.
yeah, okay, so the Mario Kart Tour tracks, you know how in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, they like the laps change?
Yes.
So like the course changes over the
Yeah.
over the 3 different laps. So one time you might go left, lap 2 you might go right,
Mhm.
and in like Paris Promenade, the 3rd lap you go backwards.
Right.
So I assumed that that's how it was in Mario Kart Tour, but it's not. Apparently, this is what the speedrunner was saying, is that in Mario Kart Tour, there's like Paris 1, Paris 2, and Paris 3 as different courses, and they follow that, like, the
Sure.
route
Right,
of
that
each of
makes
those
sense.
laps. So Paris 1 is like the route of the first lap in Paris
Ooh,
Promenade.
would I like
Paris
that
2,
way better?
I I don't know,
Yeah, sure.
but I thought that was interesting because I didn't know that. I didn't
Yeah.
know that that's how it worked. I had played some Mario Kart Tour, but obviously, I mean, it'd been when that game first came out.
Right.
So yeah, I thought that was
I
interesting.
did not know that. Mark, thank you for sharing that. All right, let's dig into some new releases here this week. First off, of course, we got new music in the Nintendo. I just called it the Mario. The
We
Nintendo
got some
Music
new
app.
music in the
We got
Mario.
some new music in the
We're
Mario.
turning into moms.
That's right. We got some new music in the Mario.
But yeah, Nintendo Music
Mhm.
has The Legend of Zelda Wind Waker.
A cool addition.
Yes.
I'm happy about this one. Only the second GameCube game, right?
Right.
Because the previously was Metroid Prime. But so now we got that. Pretty cool to that we're like finally filling in those like Zelda slots, right? Like Skyward Sword a couple weeks ago, and now Wind Waker. I'm just like,
Yeah, because I think we have 4 Zelda games? We have Breath of the Wild, we have Ocarina of Time, and
yes,
then Wind Waker and
and
Skyward Sword.
yeah. Which like those feel like the most robust, listen toable, you know, tracks or soundtracks from Nintendo games. And there are also the kind that I'm just like, I just wish they were on there to begin with.
Uh-huh.
But very cool that that it is finally added there. What do you hope for like Zelda wise next? Is there like a Zelda soundtrack that you feel like you're missing still?
Oh, no, because I know what you're saying, but like, I don't know, I'm kind of hoping for things,
That you don't listen to a bunch already?
yeah,
You
that like
want
are kind
weirder
of like
stuff, yeah.
outside of the, like, do we have Donkey Kong Country Returns on there? I don't think
I don't
so.
believe so.
Do you know what I'm really itching for? And maybe it's just because I just really want this on here, and so I will always kind of like cross my arms and harumph a little bit
Right.
until it happens, is Kirby and the Forgotten Land. That
Yeah.
soundtrack is so
It
good.
rules. Yeah, it's very good.
I really want that on Mario. I
Yeah,
really want it on
we
the
need that
Mario.
on the Mario. I gotta say we need Tears of the Kingdom on the Mario as well.
Yeah, that would be nice.
Like, why is that not there?
Uh-huh.
Also, like, this is the first time that we are getting like a major Nintendo release, you know, with Donkey Kong Country Returns HD, that they could be releasing the soundtrack at the same time on the app, but it doesn't seem like they're going to.
No.
Or maybe they will next week, and it'll just be, you know,
Yeah,
delayed
maybe.
a couple days. But
do you know what another great thing about Nintendo Music is that we haven't really discussed?
the Mario,
Is that it gives us an opportunity to hope for something Rusty's Real Deal Baseball,
Ooh.
like, new-ish.
Oh yeah, I would love that. Give me Rusty's Real Deal
I honestly
Baseball.
can't remember what the soundtrack is like.
No, who cares? No, it's good, right? It's just like that. I'm thinking about like in the mini games where you're like batting or pitching or whatever. And it's
Yeah,
just,
I genuinely cannot remember.
Right.
I have no idea what the music sounds like.
I imagine it's just like. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba-ba.
Oh,
no,
yeah.
You know what we need? Famicom Detective Club.
We absolutely do.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that Nintendo Music is just another, because all this stuff is great. Don't get me wrong, Wind Waker soundtrack is great.
Yes.
But it's just another avenue for us to
Complain about what Nintendo isn't doing for us.
Also, you mentioned it on
Mhm.
Thursday, January 16th, Donkey Kong Country Returns HD is released, and I'm looking forward to playing this game again.
Okay, let's talk about it. So it is coming out this week. This is the first time, Mark, in a year that I am not contractually obligated to buy a Nintendo product when it comes out.
Did you, and so you owned this on Wii.
Yes.
Did you own the 3DS version?
Yes.
Are you
I
going to buy this
Here's the
version?
thing. I currently own both of them. Like, I
Uh-huh.
have my Wii copy sitting on my shelf. I can play it on my Wii U tonight if I want to. I have my 3DS version. Obviously, I can play on my 3DS tonight if I want to. Am I going to buy this?
It is in some ways. In fact, I think we talked about this last week, but
Yes.
in reverse, where you're the one who brought this up, that it's like the definitive version.
It is absolutely.
It has the best,
Right.
presumably, of the Wii version, the Nintendo 3DS version, and like HD up-res graphics.
Right, and it's just on my Switch.
Yeah.
It's on the thing that I play games on right now. I don't know. I feel like I'm going to hold off.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think if nothing else, because you don't have to buy it, you should exercise that
Right.
power.
Well, the thing is, I'm going to need to exercise that power when Xenoblade comes out as well.
But yeah, Donkey Kong Country Returns HD. I think after poo-pooing Luigi's Mansion 2 HD so much
That's a good point.
last
This is a
summer
great point.
that I'm ready to indulge. But no, really, even if you don't buy it, even if you buy it in a week or two,
Yeah.
I think like withholding your money
Right.
just lets Nintendo know that you can if you want to.
That's right, and that it's not my problem. It's their problem. What if this year I vowed to buy nothing Nintendo?
Oh
put
yeah,
out?
in a year when the Switch 2, that would be bold. That'd be bold. I can't tell you what to do. I'm just saying that'd be bold.
All right. Well, I'm not going to do it. Mark, it's time for 433. In 1952, American composer John Cage wrote a piece called 433, wherein a performer or a group of performers didn't play their instruments for 4 minutes and 33 seconds. For the purposes of this show, our instruments are talking about Nintendo. So, for the duration of one performance, 433, Mark and I'll talk about something not at all Nintendo related, thus fulfilling the contract of the piece. Mark, we're feeling a little bit of collective Star Wars joy right now.
Yes.
Which I would say you and I have not felt together in 5 years.
Yeah, I think that's true because I didn't watch Andor until later, and I really like Andor, and I'm really looking forward to Andor season 2. But yeah, we've watched and read and done all these things asynchronously. I feel like
yes.
And
so we're both enjoying Skeleton Crew. This is going to be our opportunity to talk a little bit about Skeleton Crew. Just not big spoilers, but we're obviously going to talk about some stuff that's happening. I've watched the first 6 episodes at this point, so I'm not all the way up to date.
Okay,
yet.
yeah. So I'm up to date, and the finale is coming out tonight.
Oh, is it tonight already?
Yes.
Okay, awesome.
And so yeah, I have really loved this.
Yeah,
I
me
feel
too.
like it's I've enjoyed that. It feels like there aren't the weighty expectations for this show that there were for other shows, and I think it's just fun. It's hitting all the right notes for me. It wears its heart on its sleeve. It wears its the things that inspired it on its sleeve as well. But it really works for me.
Well, and the things that inspire it, right, are there's that surface level or obvious at first blush that it's that sort of Amblin 80s kids on bikes sort of adventure, but then kind of quickly morphs into a Treasure Island pirate adventure pastiche. Jude Law's one of Jude Law's characters many names is Captain Silvo, so he's Long John Silver, right?
Right. The droid that they introduce is
Smee.
SM33.
Yeah. And so it can have fun with that that 80s adventure stuff and pirate adventure. Also kind of mix in with that boys adventure kind of genre. And is just like you say, sort of irrepressibly fun, which is what I'm enjoying about it kind of most.
Yeah, and yes, I feel like the kids are pretty good.
One of the kids is an alien.
Yes, he's a blue elephant.
And
I love him.
His name is Neil, and he's shy, and he doesn't like violence.
And he has siblings that are also blue elephants.
And parents that are also blue elephants, and they're super cute too.
Yeah.
And
he has hair. That's the part that
yes.
Every time I see the hair, I'm like, oh, this blue elephant has hair.
To be fair, all the kids have hair. No, but he's a wonderful mostly puppet. I think they must be doing some CG stuff on his face sometimes.
Yeah, my understanding is that it's
expressive.
a mix of all of it. Yeah.
Which is that's the thing in Star Wars that I will constantly be excited about, and even when they don't get the balance right, and we're that young Luke Skywalker, we're spending too much time with him, he sounds weird. The fact that they are always pushing that technology a little bit further, and then they can achieve something like Neil. I'm just oh, I love this kid.
Yeah, it does feel like they still have that spirit of what George Lucas was doing, which is always pushing the envelope.
Right. Even
of
when Attack of
the
the Clones
technology.
looks terrible.
Exactly, it looks terrible. It will always look terrible because
Right.
it was filmed in 2K.
Right.
You know,
Yes.
because it was state of the art at the time.
Right.
But we wouldn't have digital cinema today, behind the camera or in movie theaters without him, like
Yep.
getting out there and doing it. So I agree with you. Even when like Luke Skywalker in the Book of Boba Fett looks and sounds all wrong, or
Right.
just like uncanny,
Right.
then like what will that bring
The
in the
next
future?
one will look better. And maybe that's not that thing. Did you see that they like retouched the like undead Ian Holm from
Oh yeah, in
Alien
Alien
Romulus?
Romulus.
Yeah.
I did see.
You can go.
I mean,
you can-
yeah.
I was just muting the applause. Go ahead.
I did see there was an interview with the director talking about how they did more work on it for the home release.
Which is so funny because it's not like the complaint about it was like, oh, it looks bad. It did look bad, but the complaint is like, why are you bringing back Ian Holm's likeness for this? He's a dead man.
Yeah, it's interesting. It didn't bother me.
The thing is, it's like he's not even playing the same character. He's just another droid or another robot,
Right, like another
of that model. But
Right.
it's like, why does it have to look like him?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Anyway, we're enjoying Skeleton Crew. We were accompanied today by pianist Kyle Shaw. Mark, before we get into the news, I just wanted to mention a Star Wars thing. I'm back reading the High Republic stuff. I'm in the middle of phase 2, and it like culminates in an audio drama. Or the middle of it, the centerpiece of it is an audio drama that's pulling in characters from all the other like books and comics and stuff. And because of the way these things are constructed, and because of the way that they are also all written instead of spoken until they get to the audio drama, there is a Jedi who's involved in the story whose name is Crichton, Crighton, and a alien bartender whose name is Craydon, Craydon. So they look totally differently on the page, and when they're spoken, it always just sounds like Craydon, and I don't know who they're talking about ever. But Mark, let's do the news.
Okay, well, I feel like the big thing that I don't know how to feel about this is that word on the street is that the successor to the Nintendo Switch will be revealed this Thursday on January 16th. So it's not even like we have to wait that long to find out whether it's true or not.
Right.
So this is all originating from we've talked about this person before, but like noted industry leaker,
Sure.
primarily like Nintendo stuff, Nate the Hate. And they said on their podcast, I believe, that like they just came out and said Thursday, January 16th. And then after that happened, some very large outlets, including VGC and IGN, corroborated the report.
And basically anyone who's anyone is like running with it as a reliable rumor at this point, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I feel like we don't, because it's so close to the release, because it's so close to the date.
Yes.
And like who it's coming from, it feels to me like it's legitimate and that we can expect to see something on Thursday. It just feels unreal because I feel like we've been waiting so long for anything that I'm actually a little bit nervous. Not that it's not going to be revealed, but that it will feel underwhelming because we already know everything.
Right.
Or at least
Basically,
it feels that way.
Right. So it's there's a couple things at play here, right? One is that now that we are in the new year, we are on the other side of the like holiday Switch sales season. I'm like, yeah, why not like start building up the mainstream hype machine for the new Switch, right? Like literally what do they stand to lose by like getting that engine moving as early this year as possible, right? Regardless of when it comes out. And especially because like we have been led to believe, I guess we don't know if any of this is true, that they have been manufacturing systems for a while, right? So I think they are ready to go.
Well, sorry, just to that point, I think like Nintendo in their investor Q&As has spoken to that, where they are trying to manufacture, like their plan is to manufacture as many as possible to avoid like shortages of
Supply
scalping and
constraints,
that
right.
kind of stuff.
So yeah, I'm just like, yeah, but halfway through January, yeah, that's time, right? Like, launch it. We gotta like know what this thing is, and get people like you and me talking about it, so that it filters down to everyone, so that when they do like a full blown reveal with like a software lineup, that like the table has already been set.
And that is what my expectation is. I really keep casting my mind back to the Switch rollout playbook, and I
Right.
expect, even though it's on a different timeline, that is my expectation for how this is kind of going to go. Like, I think that whatever happens, if it happens this week, is going to be similar to what we saw in the October
Right.
2016 Switch reveal, where it's like people using the hardware, we get glimpses at some games, but we like that's where we saw, hey, that's Skyrim, right? It wasn't
Right.
like called out Skyrim coming to Switch. It was just shown playing on it. Same with like Mario Kart 8, and then people started like forensically dissecting it, being like, wait a second, there's two items and
Right.
this all looks a little different. And so that's my expectation
But then we
here.
did also see like Breath of the Wild, which wasn't out yet, and we also saw Super Mario Odyssey, which was just like that was a lightning moment, right? Of like, oh, there's something very exciting in this commercial for like teaser for the Nintendo Switch.
So that's what I'm thinking we're gonna see here.
And those feel like good thoughts. I do the thing that I'm bumping up against is, I think, something that you and I have talked about before, where it's like, do they really need to like introduce people to the concept of the Switch 2 at this? Like, I recognize that they needed to be like, no, the Switch is a thing where you can play it on your TV, you can immediately pull it out and play it on a portable, and it's a seamless experience. That's something that did not exist before that, and the public needed to understand what the system was. Do we need to understand the Switch 2 at this point, or do we?
Yeah, that's a good question. Well, let's think about what the alternatives are.
Sure.
If it's not just like a hardware teaser kind of setting the stage, and then we learn more about software and all that, and like a real deep dive into here's how you unlock the Joy-Con, like at a later date,
Right.
what could that initial video, whether it happens this week or not, like what could it be? Like, I guess it could be a full breakdown of the hardware, and like this is how you
Sure.
unattach the
Right.
Joy-Con, and here's something interesting about it that hasn't been revealed through leaks. I don't know if that's a real thing or not at this
If there
point.
could even be a thing, yeah.
Or so that I feel like that's one thing it could be.
Mm-hmm.
It could be a full blowout with, information about software and all that kind of stuff. But it feels all wrong to me to have like I don't think we're going to get a date necessarily. I don't think we're going to
Yeah,
get
I don't think we will
pricing
either.
necessarily.
Yeah.
I think it's just going to be like an introduction. We'll talk about more later. And then I think this is one of the rumors, is that in February we would get like a Nintendo Direct that talks about software
Right.
for the Switch 2.
And that makes sense to me too, and like also feels like it is kind of in line with the sort of like cadence of what they did last time. It's so weird that we are now living in a world where like Nintendo hasn't done a new hardware launch in 8 years, right? Like uh normally they're only 5 years between console generations, just about 5 or 6, and then have had handheld launches in between them, where it's just like, in the modern era, we only have one example of Nintendo doing this, really.
Right.
Like when they revealed the Wii U, it was at like a big dumb press conference.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
like when it was still like a year away at that point. And that's not where we are now, I don't think.
I don't think so either. I think just like we see with most of Nintendo's games, that the window between reveal and launch will be fairly short.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really don't know what to expect. I guess I am a little nervous for them. I feel nervous for Nintendo because like it will just be really interesting to see what the reception to whatever it is they're doing is going to be, because I think at the end of the day what's going to really matter is the software, and I don't know that we're going to see that here. And so if it's just another Switch, which all indications seem to be pointing that it's going to be, is that enough
Is it
for like
enough?
like you
Right.
said, for a teaser video when we all get what the Switch is? So
Yeah, it's man, it's so tough because like that original Switch reveal trailer was so exciting, right? Like there it was maybe like 2 minutes long, and like every little scene in there had like offered you some new insight into how you were going to be playing games for, little did we know, the next 8 years. Um and like become the default way for most people to play video games, not on their phones. And I don't know, it's just like they definitely don't have anything like that again. Um, but the video itself was so fun and energetic that it's like maybe they need to do that style thing with just a less interesting product.
I know. I think that's the big worry. It's not that the Switch 2 couldn't be a great gaming experience, because I really think, the software is what's going to determine that.
Right.
It's just how do you position hardware that is just more powerful? It's like the problem, presumably.
Right.
Like,
No, there has to be an experiential thing. The whatever this video is, if it happens on Thursday, has to present an experience that the Switch 2 will give you that the Switch currently doesn't, and that the other platforms don't. Right? For the Switch 1, that was your dog wants to go for a walk. You don't have to stop playing Skyrim or whatever.
right.
I think it was Breath of the Wild. Or you can play Skyrim on the plane. Right? So they get whatever that is, and there's talk of the what is the functionality of the C button. There's a mysterious C button on Joy-Cons now. Is that a cast button that allows you to like cast gameplay right to the dock and therefore to the TV, so you've got two screens? Is that exciting? Something I've asked for, but like, does it matter?
I mean, it's really the Wii U problem with the tablet, right?
Yes, right.
Where it's like, does it really, is whatever the differentiator is going to be, make a difference at the end of the day?
Yeah, great question.
But you're totally right that it would be so out of character and like mind-blowing to me if the first, like, we look at the Switch 2 and they're really getting into hardware specs and they're really talking about the system on chip.
Yeah, no way.
Like,
No way.
there's no way. But from the outside, everything that we've had leaked is really like that level of information where it's like, here's, how they're going to upscale to 4K.
Right.
Here's how the Joy-Con are attaching to it. But they've got to sell the experience.
They've got to sell the experience.
And how they do that in a way that is compelling, if there is not anything to it other than it's more powerful, is
Right.
going to be really interesting.
Right. Well, and so, one of the things that I think is a like or it felt big at the time and now feels just sort of like pedestrian, but like seeing Skyrim on the Switch was one of those like, oh holy cow, like this thing is powerful, and they're like tapping into like a mainstream outside of the Nintendo bubble of like gaming in a way that we see Nintendo like dabble with from time to time, but isn't really like a priority for them. One of the things that Nate the Hate has talked about on both the podcast that you're referring to and the previous week's podcast is that major third-party games are going to be like headed to Switch 2 in its first year, and specifically name-checking Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater, quote, more than half a dozen, unquote, Ubisoft games, including Assassin's Creed Mirage, Final Fantasy VII Remake and Rebirth, and multiple Xbox titles even.
Yes, one of the rumors is that
Halo.
Master Chief Collection
right.
could show up on this. And it totally makes sense. Like, given Microsoft's kind of chummy relationship with Nintendo, if this is more powerful hardware, like, we know Call of Duty's coming.
Right.
Why not Halo, given Microsoft's current position?
And we know that because of the way that like the Xbox library works, like any new Xbox game has to be able to run on either the Series S or the Series X. So like it's a slightly less powerful, like they have those like sliders, or the thought of these sort of scalable games that's already like in play for them. So if they can just like slide the sliders down a little bit more so it works on Switch 2, I think they're going to want to like tap into that market as well. So, but I guess my all of that was a lead up to like, is that an experiential thing that you can try to sell to people of like play these big third party games, play Star Wars Jedi Survivor, play Indiana Jones and the Great Circle on natively on this handheld.
I would say yes, except for products like
Steam Deck.
the Steam Deck,
Right.
that are already doing that at
Yes.
like I would say at a more targeted audience, but it feels too like already happening to be
Right.
the like having ports of third-party games like we saw with Skyrim
Right.
is exciting from like a Nintendo ecosystem standpoint, but I don't think would be enough.
It's not enough, and it's also just like not. It is like just like definitionally not what it is to like. It's not part of like the definition of Nintendo, of the Nintendo experience, right? That like it's gonna be the first party games that make or break it. Third party games and indie games will kind of fill in the gaps between first party releases, and some of them will be good, some of them will be exciting, some of them will even sell a lot.
I do think that like having that stuff show up is great and would be important, especially because like Assassin's Creed Mirage is
That's the new one. Yeah.
and same with like Metal Gear Solid Delta
Also,
Snake Eater hasn't come out yet, right?
Right. Yeah, that's correct. I think Mirage is the new one.
Right. Yeah. No.
I don't.
I also
please don't
think
make
so.
me.
I also
Yeah.
think that is true.
Great.
The one that just got delayed like another month.
That's right.
But like all of that is important, is exciting in the same way that Skyrim being on like in that Switch reveal video was exciting because
Right.
it was like you were coming from a Wii era and a Wii U era where like at the beginning of the Wii U era, third parties were putting Mass Effect 3 on Wii U. You know what I mean? But they weren't
Arkham City Armored Edition.
Yes, but they weren't like the good versions.
Right.
They always had compromises. And so that's where like it is nice to see Skyrim on the Switch, but that didn't mean that we are getting new Bethesda games.
Right.
Or
right.
that we're getting like, Starfield or anything like that. We did get some. And I feel like, at least for me, third party support in the first few months is nice but meaningless. Because
nice but meaningless and sort of normal too. Especially shouting out Ubisoft. We had prepared a show to do last week that was like looking into these transition years, which we will still do at some point in the future. But like, guess what? Ubisoft is always there in the first year,
which is great.
Yes,
but it's just like, yeah, a lot of times they're able to get support in the early going, but really it's like, what is third party support going to be 5 or 6 years down the line?
Yes,
that's like really exciting. And so, do I think it'd be smart to include that stuff? Yeah, absolutely. Do I think that it's like a difference maker? At the end of the day, I don't really, because there's so many other places that people can buy these things. So it's a nice supplement. It's like a cool reason. I do think that for that reason, this is the time. If Nintendo was just going to do like an incremental update, this would be it, because we know that Sony's interested in like pursuing the handheld space again.
Yeah.
We know that Microsoft is interested in pursuing the handheld space. So yes, the Steam Deck exists, but it's not like a hybrid in the same way that the Switch is a hybrid. And so I think that this is an opportunity for Nintendo to do something that is iterative. They don't have to reinvent the wheel now, but next time they're probably going to have to, because they're going to have competition in a way that they don't right now.
Right.
So if you're going to do an iterative update, this is the time to do it.
Right, but then it's just like, how do you make a video, like a cool hype video that's like fun and has young people playing it, and not like, an old Japanese man breaking it open and showing you how much faster it is. Right. Yeah. So I mean, I don't know. We're speculating about a thing that's going to launch probably that's going to be revealed in like 2 days. But it just what a fascinating corner for Nintendo to. And that we've been talking about them being in for the last like year. I don't know.
Should we also talk about
very
like
exciting,
just real quick, some of the other games that are like that are first party? They're Mario Kart 9 or 10 or whatever they end up calling it.
Right.
Being a launch title, rumored to be a launch title. And of course, like a new Mario 3D platformer coming at the end of the year.
Right. Those are like the two rumor pieces. Also, I wanted to, we'll get to that in a second, but the I noticed that there's like another like there's a sister rumor to this thing that the Switch will be launched on March 3rd, and I that is hooey. That is just like repeating the launch date for the original Switch, and also it's a Monday. Like it's not coming out on March 3rd.
Nintendo's a Thursday company
They're a
now.
Thursday company. I still think the system itself will come out on Friday.
I think Nate the Hate was saying late May or June.
That's
or
where
May
I've
or
been
June.
for a
Maybe he
while.
didn't say
Yeah.
late, but just like May or June
Right.
is the window. Interesting, but you're right. We only have a little bit of time until we'll find out potentially what the truth is.
But to your question about Mario Kart 9 or 10 or whatever it is, and a new Mario game, new 3D Mario game by the end of the year, that all makes perfect sense to me. That's it.
the Mario Kart I am most interested in.
Yes.
Because
what do you do?
What do
different?
you do? And I think
Yeah.
it'll be an interesting window into how they're approaching, like, how are we going to follow up the biggest entries in these franchises?
Right, which like Odyssey is, Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom arguably are, obviously Smash Ultimate is, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe definitely is. What do you do to move on from these sort of like biggest of all time presentations of these games?
Yeah. And to stake it as a launch title feels bold to me for some reason.
There just hasn't been a new Mario Kart game in 10 years.
And the current
Unless
one,
you count Tour, which come on.
But the current one sells so well.
Sells so well, yes.
That it just feels like it's gonna have to be a real differentiator.
Yeah.
Possibly. Or maybe they just do the same thing and everybody buys it again and loves it. Especially when 8 Deluxe is gonna be backwards compatible.
Right. No, it has to be like a different game.
Yeah. I'm sweating. I'm nervous.
I know, and we're getting worked up here. I watched over this last week. I watched 21 Jump Street, the new. It's like 10 years old. The movie.
The one with Channing Tatum
and Jonah Hill.
Yes.
Kind of solidifying that I don't like Jonah Hill. I think I was just sort of like, yeah, Jonah Hill's fine. But in watching 21 Jump Street, I was like, oh yeah, I don't like. Anyway, they like poke a lot of fun in that first movie about how like it's rebooting and like doing this like nostalgia play and like whatever and like how silly it is, and like Johnny Depp and the other guy from the TV show have like cameos towards the end. But then I also watched 22 Jump Street, which is like a nonstop roast about doing like a cash in sequel to the point where like it stops being fun, but that's the kind of thing that I'm worried about, where it's like, oh yeah, everything is going to be like nakedly commercial in the Switch 2 era, where it's like you're just doing it again. You're just doing stuff again, or will they have to reinvent?
I think they're gonna have to reinvent. It feels so un-Nintendo to me.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been so long since we've had again, assuming that this is what it is, it's been so long since we've had here we go again, but more powerful.
A Mamma Mia 2, another sequel where it's like the first one was so big it's unavoidable, you absolutely have to make a second one.
Yeah, because they've always introduced a thing.
Yes.
Recently, like the DS to the 3DS is similar in a lot of ways, but then they're like, we have 3D. And it's always been these kind of like add-on things that didn't end up mattering. And so I don't know. I'm nervous.
We just don't know, and we're nervous.
Yeah. But it would be so surprising to me if it is just like Mario Kart 10, here we go again.
Right.
Like it feels in what I expect from Nintendo.
Okay, let me pitch this.
Is that it's going to be upsetting. Like they're going to do some stuff that is like this is upsetting.
They're going to trip.
Like a double dash 2.
Sure, but I think there would be some sickos super excited about that. Let me pitch you my idea. Mamma Mia Kart. So you got Meryl Streep, Pierce Brosnan, Colin Firth, Amanda Seyfried.
I think this
all
is
the
a great
tracks
idea.
are on this little Greek island.
I think this is a really good idea.
The music is all ABBA music.
Yeah, I mean this has indie game written all over it.
It does, yeah. So someone get to work on Mamma Mia Kart. Mario can be in it too. I don't
Mario,
care.
Sure, he's a guest character.
Yeah. And
collabs, they're all the rage.
And they go to Rainbow Road. Also, the Koopa kids are in it.
Here we go. Something a little bit different. Nintendo announced on X on Monday that the Nintendo Sound Clock Alarmo would be available for purchase by non-Nintendo Switch Online members at, quote, participating retailers in March of this year.
Yes. So obviously, Mark, you and I have our Nintendo Sound Clock Alarmos. You've never opened yours.
Yeah, mine's in the box.
And mine is watching me sleep. And now it is available to, or soon in March, it will be available to anyone and everyone in the US, right? I do think the fact that it is launching in March rules out March as a release window for the Switch 2, right?
Probably.
Why launch two different pieces of hardware in the same month?
I think you could do it because I think Alarmo at this point, I don't expect them to do a big like ad campaign for Alarmo.
No, I don't think so either. But like, you still have to like get shelf space and like,
yeah, that's
you know
true.
what I mean? Like, and it's not going to be the kind of thing where people go in, buy the Switch 2, and they're like, oh, give me one of those Alarmos too.
Right.
Like, it's just not. It's not that kind of product.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, presumably they're going to be revealing the Switch 2 on the day that Donkey Kong Country Returns HD is released.
Yeah. Yes.
But yeah, I do think that's a good point. Shelf space, I think, is a good point.
It's a logistics physical thing. Yes.
And also, you have a note here, maybe not available on Nintendo site because they just talk about participating retailers.
Yep, and not saying or available on Nintendo.com. And yeah, we have no date here and no list of retailers. So, I don't even know like what you stay tuned to find out where you can buy your Alarmo.
Yeah, presumably their Twitter account.
Right.
But you're right. You called out that this is for North America, and previously they had said that they were delaying the general Japanese release until they could like provide more to Nintendo Switch Online subscribers.
Right.
So just interesting. Finally, was Virtual Console originally planned for the Switch? So you remember the Virtual Console premiered on the Nintendo Wii and was library of games from Nintendo and third parties where, you could buy a Master System game, you could buy a Nintendo 64 game, but you were buying that individual game.
A TurboGrafx 16 game.
TurboGrafx 16
and
game.
all sorted that way too, like sorted by system.
But that program ended with the Wii U and the Nintendo 3DS.
Right.
So we had 2 generations of Virtual Console, and with the
but sort of 3 virtual consoles, right? There was the Wii 1, the Wii U 1, and the 3DS 1, and they were not the same.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes, that's right. And you had to rebuy each time.
Right. And so you could do like there was an upgrade like path for Wii to Wii U where you paid like another $1 or something. Which was a pain in the butt, but you could do it. And then you could also turn your Wii U into Wii mode and play Virtual Console games that you got on the Wii that way. Go on.
So apparently, according to some leaked emails that were between Nintendo and their Chinese subsidiary iQ, as compiled by Tumblr user Luigi Blood.
Great. Nate the Hate, Luigi Blood.
That Virtual Console was in fact at one point planned for the Switch before they pivoted to having these libraries that were part of the Nintendo Switch Online subscription.
Yes.
So apparently the project was codenamed
Clipper.
And the original announcement of Nintendo Switch Online included this following language, quote, subscribers will get to download and play a Nintendo Entertainment System or Super Nintendo Entertainment System game with newly added online play for free for a month, which I totally forgot about this.
I totally forgot about this too. But so, obviously, if you're a subscriber, it's free forever, right? Or for the time, the duration
included
of
in
your
subscription.
But also when the NSO libraries launched, it was just with NES. The Super NES didn't join for a year.
Oh, that's right.
So what they originally envisioned for NSO and this like Virtual Console at this time was pretty different from what we ended up getting.
Yeah, because it seems like, if I'm understanding what this is saying, it's like, a new game would be added, like Donkey Kong Country 3 for the Super Nintendo would be added to Virtual Console. If you're subscribed to Nintendo Switch Online, you could play it for free for a month. Then after that month, you would have to go to the store and purchase it
Right.
on the Virtual Console if you wanted to keep playing it.
So I gotta say, that's
Not the worst.
It's not the worst.
No.
Yeah. Not the
Because
worst
I
at all.
think the big difference between Virtual Console and Nintendo Switch Online libraries is some of the third-party participation.
Absolutely. Yes.
And they talk about this in the leaks, like apparently lots of testing was done on first-party games plus third-party games like Final Fantasy 1 and 3, Mega Man 2 through 6, etc. And it's not that we don't get third-party games, it's just that some of the heaviest hitters didn't make it over.
Right.
Presumably because they want, like, those third parties don't want to license it for an online library, they want to sell it in their own way.
Right. Well, and the Final Fantasy 1 and 3 are great examples. Obviously, we've had the Pixel remasters being sold separately, and in collections in the years since this the change from Virtual Console to Nintendo Switch Online. But like Square Enix is not present in these classic libraries, and especially with how much they did to shape the Super NES library and make it like one of the greatest video game console libraries of all time. They are a notable absence.
Yeah, or even something like, they mentioned Mega Man, but Mega Man has been packaged up in these retail collections,
Totally.
Throughout the generation. And
Yeah,
I wonder if that was more successful for them. Like these Castlevania collections
totally.
as well. Like, it has been doing it that way, sold more than if they were individually selling these Castlevania games for $10.
Right. Well, and is the Mega Man games that we do see on NSO are like the cast-offs that are not part of those collections, right? There's like the what's the Genesis one called? Like the Dr. Wily collection or something like that.
Oh, I can't remember.
Dr. Wily's, I don't know, whatever. But it's Mega Man's 1, 2, and 3 as they appeared on Genesis, which is looks and sounds a little bit different. And then we got the Game Boy, all 5 Game Boy Mega Mans, but because they've never been collected and presented on like a legacy collection of any kind. So, yeah, I mean, obviously, Square Enix is not playing at all, and Capcom is like, you can have what we're not interested in trying to sell otherwise.
It seemed like they were going to introduce some new features as well. Like they were testing games at different game speeds, like slow, normal, and fast.
What does that mean?
I don't know.
I would love to play a game fast.
And then they presumably included online play, which is a feature that we see in the current Nintendo Switch Online offering. So yeah, just interesting to see.
Did you read that like one of the online things was that they would switch like controller, like who was controlling what player, like every 4 minutes or something like that, and there was like a countdown clock. So like they were trying weird stuff with it, and like looking for a way to add value to these classic titles, and then I guess just finally landed on like, well, just let people play online co-op basically with any of these games, which is a cool feature that I wish I used more.
Oh yeah, I'll forget all the time that it's something that exists. They also you have a noted here that they were exploring a CRT mode complete with TV noise and the power button sounds for the NES and Famicom. So you're right, it does seem like they were looking at ways to make it different, like a different experience than just Virtual Console again. I still think it'd be fun to get some of these features.
I think so too.
Nintendo Switch Online. I
like that extra pomp and circumstance of like making it look like you're actually playing the NES. I saw a CRT TV on the sidewalk yesterday, and I had a moment where I was like, should I pick that up? Should I pick that bad boy up? I need something to play Dreamcast games on, Mark.
Can bed bugs live in CRT TVs?
Boy, what a great question.
That's the thing that always stops me from just like
picking something up on the sidewalk. I don't think they can live on CRT TVs. I mean, certainly not more than like on a flat screen TV.
Right.
But
I wouldn't pick one of those up from the side of the road either.
No, and I was planning to sleep on it too. So, all right, Mark, let's get out of the news. All right, that is going to do it for this episode of Nintendo Cartridge Society. If you've not already joined our Discord, email us. We will send you an invitation. You can come right on in. Anthony DeLuca made our logo. Our theme music is provided by 8-Bit Betty. You can get more of his music by going to 8bitbetty.com or by listening right now. For my co-host, Mark Mitchell, this is Patrick Ellers saying thank you for listening.